Hello, YouTubers. Nats. Joe Cruiser here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time on Sunday, September 28th, 2014. And it's Sunday, so I went to church and I read. Actually, I read and my judge buddy read. So we were up on the platform together. And we always have a fair amount of fun together when we're up on the platform. Not yuck disruptive fun, but we enjoy being together up there, and well, anyway, it's not as again as I said, particularly when I'm doing the prayers of the people, it's not me doing that. When I'm reading, actually, it's not me doing that, but be that as it may, he today, while we were getting all dressed up in our robes, our albs, I'm still not quite used to that, guys. I've been doing this since 2005, and I'm still not quite used to that. The hardcore Protestant in me really still isn't quite, isn't quite acquiesce to that yet. On the other hand, I guess it's better than a pale blue polyester suit. He was talking about this recent beheading out in Oklahoma, where this guy that had been in prison in Arizona, and gotten out and then gotten a job, and he'd become a Muslim in prison. All right, but then apparently he got fired and had a hard-on about that, so he came back to the workplace and started killing people. He killed one woman. He chopped or sawed off one of her head, sawed off her head, and stabbed another woman. And then the president of the company or CEO of the company came downstairs and shot him. He was a reserve deputy sheriff, and he shot this guy. But he didn't kill him. He shot him, though. He disabled him. So obviously you can't have this kind of behavior going on. But we got talking about beheading people, and his point was, that at least in some countries earlier on, they used a long, sharp sword, and they'd do a fast chop. It wasn't like they held them down and sawed away, like you're, fixing some meat for dinner, And so I told him about this book, The Faithful Executioner, Life and Death, Honor and Shame in the Turbulent 16th Century, which would be the 1500s, by Joel F. Harrington, and it's published by, FSG Farrar, let's see here, Farrar, Straus, Giroux in New York, and it was published in 2013. And I recommend this book to y'all who are interested in these sorts of prurient details, because various countries in Europe at that time, well, as they have throughout history, or all countries have throughout history, used various methods of execution. And while this is primarily a study of the social consequences of being an executioner in, the the 1500s, or more accurately, the 1400s to 1500s in Germany, uh, and how you improved or accounted for your social situation in the Holy Roman Empire at that time. If you were, you know, if you were trying to get on with your life and better your family and so forth. Um, uh, this that's the theme of the book. But along the way, you get a lot of prurient details. No, such as uh, you get this great illustration here. But more accurately, what you get is, and as I was explaining to my buddy, my judge buddy, you get this. Now, see, he's got a really, really long, and it's moderately thick, double-edged sword, but it's more like what we would call a maul for splitting wood, and the victim, the criminal, the perp, if you will, is sitting in a chair, and he's going to swing that thing around and come at her from what would be her right hind quarter on her neck. And that's, whether he hits an inner space, a cervical spine inner space or not, he's going to whack. I mean, there's no doubt that with that heavier thing coming around that way, he's going to knock her head off. Absent the development of the guillotine, which didn't happen until the late 18th century, like 1760 or so, in France. Well, and was adopted also in Germany then, and remained current in Germany until they finally abolished capital punishment. And same in France too. But before that was probably the most efficient way to, nail somebody. The English used a lot thinner sword. So occasionally they had to whack away at people. And of course, and then there were times they tried to use an axe. And you've got, now it depends on the axe. I mean, but essentially, you can't use some sort of lightweight thing if you're going to try to. I'll tell you right now, I've cut into a human being when I was a resident in surgery, and it takes a lot of strength, even just to go through. I mean, it's not easy to chop into a human being, guys. I'm telling you that right now. Anyway, that was my judge buddy's conversation today at church, and it went very well. Again, like I say, when I'm doing the prayers of the people, it's not really me doing it, and that got into a thing about belief and faith. Today was our assisting priest's last day here because she's going to go up to Kenyon College, and she gave the sermon, and it was a very good sermon. Excuse me, very thoughtful sermon, as always. And you're talking about belief and faith. Well, you have to believe before you can have faith. You have to believe before you can have faith. Now, the Greek words are remarkably similar. And various sources will perhaps contradict me on this, but what makes sense to me is that you have belief, and the Greek word for that is pistos, Pistos, is the way we open the door of our heart to sanctifying grace, and then through interaction with grace, faith, which is in Greek is pistis, P-I-S-T-I-S, pistis. And I ask you to compare then Ephesians 2:8 in the Greek on that. Um, there, there are a number of sources that basically don't draw that hard and fast a line between the two of those words, because quite often they are used interchangeably, particularly in the church fathers later on. But it seems like an interesting dichotomy, I mean, not dichotomy, but an interesting progression to me. It's very, in a way, it's very existential. One of the tenets of existentialism, if you can say that it actually has tenets at all, is that existence precedes essence. Well, existence you can view as belief. I'm existing, I'm interacting, I'm believing. And then leads to the essence, which is faith, which is then the full life of living with God. No. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Name being far more than just a name, far more than just saying God. I mean, it's, hallowed be thy name, meaning hallowed be thy entire being, your entire self, your entire essence, your entire at all. So, while Karen didn't really quite get into all that, that's what I was thinking about while I was listening to her sermon today. So that was today. Now Paul got sent home from work early because he was having a spell. He's out on the porch right now. He's much better. He said he was nauseated. He thinks he got. So he ate some of the food there, and he thinks it was some bad scrambled eggs or bad omelets or something. Which I have to admit, when Paul brings those things home, I tend not to eat those because they have been dicey in the past. So, plus a year and a half ago, they changed. The first year and a half he worked there, he'd bring stuff home that were egg based and were fine. And then after that, they changed. And while I'm very laissez-faire about what I eat, as you might have guessed. Even I tend to throw some of these egg things over the side. I I almost never throw food out. But this is a bit dicey even for me. So we'll see. He's much better right now. He got home about 1. It's about 3 hours later, so he's doing a lot better. So on that note, I'm going to say bye-bye, YouTubers. All righty.